Welcome to ACC Nation. Will Ojanen, Jim Quist. It's good to be with you. We've got a lot of basketball to talk about, Will. We'll take a look at the AP Top 25 first and take a look at the men's side of things. UConn at number 1, Purdue at number 2. Not surprising there. Purdue's got the hottest offense in the country, according to Ken Pom. UNC coming off a huge win over Duke. And some notes there that ought to be looked at if you're into bracketology. Take a look at Big Underdog. Jason Carmella has posted his latest bracket. He has some notes there and points out something about UNC, which is very, very interesting in regard to quarter one wins. Anyway, Kansas at number 4 and Houston at number 5. So that's a look at the top 5 on the men's side. On the women's side, it's South Carolina, Iowa. Iowa is just smoking, and so is NC State at number 3, number 4, Colorado, and number 5, Ohio State. We'll get into the rest of these teams here in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit about your impression of the top 5 on both sides, men's and women's basketball, and anything that you see there that may be a little unusual, or are we kind of settling in here? Because it seems to me that we may be settling in.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think there's any doubt of who the top three teams are right now. UConn, Purdue, North Carolina. UConn has really kicked it in. They were a little sluggish. They've obviously suffered through some injuries, but they're just humming right now. Purdue, Zach Edey, not much else to say. They're gonna figure they're gonna be good. I mean, I highly doubt they're gonna be a victim of a 16 seed and back-to-back tournaments.
No,
can never rule it out, but I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
And Carolina's playing some of the best basketball of anybody in the country. I mean, yeah, we can disregard, that loss against Georgia Tech. Even with that, that was kind of a look ahead spot anyway. So you can easily eschew that as a look ahead spot, but at the same time, look at Georgia Tech side. Look at what they've done this year. They beat both Duke and North Carolina. So
that's ACC basketball, though, right? Well, I mean, that's what it's all about in this conference, is that when you get into league play, any given night, somebody is going to get upset.
Home court advantage is a hell of a drug, Jim.
It is. Enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. 4-5. Kansas beat Houston on Saturday pretty handily. It was one of those games where the score didn't indicate how close it was. Houston's still really, really good. Even with the loss, I mean, they dropped one spot in the poll, which you can't knock on them for losing on the road to one of the 5 best teams in the country. Yeah, women's side, the big dropper. We looked at the rankings. We saw Kansas State drop from number 2 to number 8, so they're not even in the top 5. We saw Iowa move up. Caitlin Clark doing her thing yet again. NC State a nice move up to 3. We've talked about Coach Miller being one of the best coaches in the women's game, and just continuing to hum. They've been one of the best programs in the ACC for quite a while now. Just continuing to motor along with a 19-2 record, and Colorado and Ohio State rounding out the top 5. Both have moved up multiple spots with the performances of other teams. Stanford dropped after a loss this week as well, down to number 6. So yeah, pretty standard stuff on both sides.
Yeah, and getting back to that, just settling in sort of thing, it feels everything that I've seen so far on both men's and women's side is that we're figuring out who these teams are now, or they've figured out who they are. It's probably a better way of putting it. And they're settling in, and they've got their rhythm going. We had talked about on one of the last podcasts that we did about how teams were going to start kicking in, that teams were either going to be doing one of two things. They were either going to start rising because this is the time of year to start doing it, or they were going to start falling off. Now, we do have a couple of teams which are sliding, but there are a few teams that are coming up the ladder. Let's go over to the men's side and take a look at the teams that are ranked there. In addition to North Carolina out of the ACC at number 9, Duke didn't take quite as big a hit as you might have imagined. Uh, Duke and UNC both, that's just a classic battle, especially ACC basketball. So to drop Duke down much further than that, I think would have been a criminal act, to be frank about it. So, but they look solid. They're playing good ball.
Yeah, and that's I think putting it that way, I mean, they're not elite. They're although I think there was a certain segment of the population that thought that they could win a national title this year. I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite that good unless something suddenly changes with Tyrese Proctor being more of a consistent player. And they've been bitten a little bit by the injury bug themselves, but still doesn't excuse some of the losses, even when they have. I mean, losing to Georgia Tech is when you look at just the talent advantage.
Yeah.
That's and then losing at home to Pitt. And those are the two that really stand out to me. And losing at Arkansas, who's not very good this year either. That's another that one's not looking quite as good. Yeah, again, lose I mean it was not the final score Saturday was 93-84, but it wasn't that close. I mean, Carolina was up double digits for a lot of that game. So to say that um that I mean,
Yeah.
Duke's right now they're I wouldn't even say this. You could argue. I mean, they're not even in second place in the ACC right now in the standings. That belongs to Virginia, who's on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
But with the way they're playing as we were recording tonight, watch out, folks.
And again, teams that are clicking, and sometimes it takes them a while before they find that combination or being able to play together. We've seen that out of Virginia before. Virginia is presently, and this kind of surprised me, Will, to be frank about it. I mean, I've kind of gone through the season and gone, okay, Virginia is not in the top 25, and it's really not even being mentioned in the receiving votes category. So people are just sort of brushing them aside or putting them under the rug or whatever you want to call it. But they're at 31. And when you take a look at the net, which we'll do here in just a moment, you begin to see that Virginia is slowly but surely moving up that ladder and finding their groove.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're recording this a little after 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday night. Virginia is currently up 40-19 on Miami. Still about 14 minutes left in the game. But this is I came into this thinking this was going to be a really tough game, and they're they're up 21 points with 14 minutes to go, and it's amazing. And I mean, if everything holds, this will be seventh win in a row, and it's and this is something that kind of in line with that the team after the national championship that was kind of out adrift in the sea for a while for the first couple of months of the season. Then they kind of steered, figured it out, got, steered back on the right course, and now they're looking like a complete team. I mean, they're holding a really good offensive team in Miami to 19 points with, like I said, less than 14 minutes left in the game. This is this is this is why Tony Bennett's one of the best coaches in the country, folks.
We always come back to Tony Bennett, and that defense. And for years, people have just absolutely blasted defense, and it's boring. It's, yawn, whatever you see all kinds of comments on social media in regard to Virginia and how they play and stuff, but it wins ball. And, the only downfall that they have this season, I think they're at 144 on offense in Ken Pom. I don't know if that's the most recent number or not, but
Yep.
if they can find a way to kick in their offense, which they're bits and pieces which are starting to come forward, and that offense takes off, this team can make a pretty solid run.
Yeah, I had a stat up a moment ago, but then I'm an idiot and accidentally cleared it off. But I was gonna do this. Pulled up bartorvik.com, looking at the website, and you can sort data by a lot of different things, however you want to do it. And since the January 17th, which is the start of Virginia's winning streak, they're 10th in the country on bartorvik.com. Now their efficiencies are still, the offensive efficiency is still not great. I mean, Torvik has it about 157th, but they're so good defensively that it's like no, I think they have their efficiency is number 4. So they're still getting it done with defense, but they're starting to figure out a little bit on offense. Like I said, as we recorded, they just hit a 3 to go up 26.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, considering again they are playing Miami, and
Hmm.
Miami's no slack team. So wow,
Yeah, and
okay,
the thing is you see Jacob Groves in the last week and a half he's been borderline unconscious from 3. He was the one who just hit the 3.
yeah, he's been spectacular.
Mhm.
I just want to point something out. January 17th is a really special day in a lot of different ways. You need to go into your into Google and type in January 17th birthdays and see some of the very special people that were born on the 17th. Then when you go through that list and you go, well, I don't see anybody that really stands out, when it comes to, basketball and sports and stuff. Yeah.
That guy
And then, yes,
to the
that's
left on the left side of the screen.
that's right. Anyway, so um, Virginia at 31 in that top 25, that receiving votes category, and it did surprise me just a little bit to see, and it wasn't just one or two homer votes. This was
Mhm.
uh, more than a couple of handfuls of votes. So people are noticing, and
Mhm.
here's part of the reason why. If you go into the latest net rankings, you will see that there are 4 teams that are in the top 50 out of the ACC. And those 4 teams include Virginia. Virginia presently at 42. And we'll start at the top. Number 9, UNC. Number 19, Duke. Number 37, Clemson. Still hanging in there somehow. And if they can turn their woes around, um, that will go a long way to getting them into a pretty solid place, I think, in the NCAA tournament. And of course, like I said, Virginia is at 42. Um, Based upon net rankings, they're not a lock, not yet, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Couple more solid wins will put them into um, the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think this would be a quad 2 win for them tonight, excuse me. I think so I'd put them 4-2 in quad 2 and 6-4 in the first 2 quadrants, which is a pretty strong resume. Obviously, they have the quad 3 loss at Notre Dame. That doesn't look very good right now. It explains why they're they're the one, two, three, four, fifth team in the ACC in the net, one spot behind Wake Forest, and I think Wake is good enough to be in it. I think they're out on some of the bracketology fields right now, and that's a lot of it has to do. They just don't have a quad one win right now. They're 0-3 in quad one, but they have a 5-4 record in quad two, but no losses outside of those first two quadrants. So that looks good, but they just need a quad one win to bolster that resume. And I think they're going to get there at some point. It just might take a little bit. I mean, their best chances look like at Duke. um, they still have to play Duke twice, so that will really help. Clemson at home, I think, will be a quad one. Um, and at Virginia, well, they have to travel to Charlottesville to play Virginia one more time. So they do have a few more opportunities for some quad one wins. But I think it'd be best served if they can get one of those to get in the tournament. Um, Especially with the way the perception of the ACC seems to be right now.
Yeah, I think that Wake Forest with they need to pull off 2 Q1s at least, at the very least, to get the type of respect that they deserve. I really do believe the Deacons deserve some respect here, because that team, it's showing some potential. I just don't know if they're gonna. They feel like they're just trying to get over the hump. You know, it's like they're not quite there. They're just pushing to get over. And
Hmm.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks are going to be interesting in ACC play, as they always are.
Mhm.
So now, speaking of the brackets, Jason Carmelo, big underdog. His latest bracket came out today. He has UNC as a 2 seed. Duke is a 4 seed. Clemson is a 9 seed. And among the last four in is Virginia as an 11 seed. Wake Forest is in his next four out. So we do have some action there. Um, and Jason's pretty astute to, when it comes down to looking at these numbers and seeing the trends. I think that I'm comfortable with that as it stands presently, because people you got to earn your way there. It's just that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's just the reality of it is it's there are a lot of good, solid teams, but they're like a lot of these teams are just kind of beating each other up, and it's not really helping one what when nobody's really standing out. And then they say with Virginia starting to do that, but somebody else has to as
right,
well.
yes. You can take a look at Jason's latest bracket at Big Underdog by simply going to accnation.net. And we have the link to his page right there on our front page. And right near it is the women's basketball bracket that comes from her hoop stats, Megan Gower, who we had as a guest on just recently talking about women's bracketology. And we'll be having her back on before long, along with Jason as well, to talk basketball and to get a little better idea as to how things are transpiring. Let's go back over to the women and take a look at the rest of the AP Top 25. Will, we mentioned that NC State is at number 3 in the top 5 of the top 25, but let's get into the other teams that are in the top 25 and are making some progress in the right direction. At number 12, it's Notre Dame. Number 15, Louisville. Number 16, Virginia Tech. Number 23, Syracuse. And then we have 3 teams in the receiving votes category. At number 27, North Carolina, which has fallen off just a little bit. They've gotten popped a few times here this week. At number 31, Florida State. And at number 33, Duke. And Duke got that one homer vote. And I still believe in you, ladies. I I don't know why I've got such a thing for Duke women's basketball. I just think that they have been underrated, and therefore I'm sort of always cheering for them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, something we should also mention too is that Louisville's playing NC State tonight as we speak as well. And NC State's up 11 on the third quarter. So Wolfpack continuing to show why they are the team in
Yeah.
of the ACC
So,
right now.
so
Pretty
good.
impressive game. Yep. Yeah, so yeah, you talked about Notre Dame, picked up a couple spots, moving up two from or up to number 12. They continue to just get it done. They've won three in a row now. Beat Georgia Tech by 37 and then Pitt by 25. That coming off the heels of a 15-point win over UConn.
Mhm.
They've been playing very, very well. A lot of uh, just great basketball by them. I saw a stat where Han Hidalgo was like the fastest player in history to 100 steals or something like that. I think that was the stat. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I think it had something to do with that. We talk about Louisville and Virginia Tech both gained a spot. They both took care of business. Louisville took care of Pitt and then beat Syracuse by 12. And as we mentioned, are trailing in the third quarter to NC State. That game in Raleigh. Virginia Tech again once again took care of business. Had a pretty tough game on Sunday against North Carolina. They ended up winning it by 9. Beat Virginia by 13 on this and Thursday. And then yeah, Syracuse, as I mentioned, dropped a couple spots after taking that loss. But again, still sitting at number 23. Having a pretty solid season.
Yeah. I think you know we saw this tailing off here in I think every conference has done that, and both men and women have done it in the ACC. It's sort of a natural thing. You get that momentum going early, then you hit that down spot. The women have hit that down spot and now are coming back. You're seeing a resurgence in their play. They're getting into that. Okay, we're in that mode to get ready for the ACC tournament and to hit the NCAA tournament. So you're going to see a lot of just crazy, awesome basketball on the women's side over the next couple of weeks. And again, I cannot encourage you enough to watch ACC women's basketball. It is great stuff. It's so entertaining. Um, and there's so many talented players. It's not like it. I mean, you could go back. There's been a lot of great players in women's basketball over. I mean, you talk about Bird and all those, and uh, but if you go back 20, 25, 30 years, it's just like onesies, twosies. I mean, we talk about Don Staley and other people, but the thing is that you can't pull up a long list of who's who, you know, like you can now. It's like now you start looking across women's basketball and you're seeing multiple stars on every team. And it's just awesome. I don't have enough adjectives to throw at it. So
Yeah, the amount of star power in this league it's really good. And yes, and there's more coming. I talked about, Hidalgo as a freshman, Kimora Johnson of Virginia. I saw her last like 5 games is averaging 26 points per game. Virginia's not
crazy.
obviously struggling. They're 2-9 in the ACC. Both those wins are against ranked teams, so it shows you just what they can do on their best days. But we talked about Liz Kitley, Georgia Moore
Yeah.
at Virginia Tech. Louisville's got some stars as well. There's a lot of talent in this league, and you're seeing it on a game by game basis. There's a lot of them.
I hated to see Haley leave Louisville, because she walked into a situation where LSU is just chock full of stars, and they had their struggles early in the season with that. They had some issues, and it was tough. And I was just reading an article in regard to Haley is getting her game now. She's finally getting into her game after all this time, after all of this portion of the season, she's just finally getting to where she needs to be. And all of that is because there's so much star power, and you have to learn to work with each other as a team and not as individuals on a team. And that was one of the struggles that I'm sure that all of those players were dealing with. They needed to trust each other and to learn how to share the ball. So it happens. It happens in every level of basketball. Um, let's take a look at the net here for a few moments. So this is interesting. The top 50. Notre Dame is at number 8. They're the top ACC team. NC State is not too far behind at number 11. At number 18 are the Hokies. 19, the Cardinals. 23, Duke. 30, North Carolina. 36, Miami. 40, Syracuse. 43, Florida State. Kind of surprises me a little bit. I mean, we've heard a little bit about Miami this season, but I don't know. They're just, not a lot, not the amount that I thought that we probably should have. And, if they're sitting at number 36 in the net, somebody's overlooking this team, and maybe to their own detriment. We'll see. I mean, they've had their struggles, but so that's a heck of a lineup. That's a lot of teams in that top 50, and well, I'll just put it this way: top 45, top 43. So
Yeah, and it showed like we've talked about how this league was going to be tough this year, and I think these net rankings kind of prove it out. When you got so many teams in the top 40, 45, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what was it, like 8 or 9 teams? It just shows you just how powerful this league is from a talent standpoint. And even still, the other team, these other teams that are hanging back. I mean, Virginia's at 68. They've won twice in the league, as I mentioned a moment ago. Yet they're sitting at 68 in the net. Yeah, they're the bottom of the ACC is kind of dragging it down a little bit, but I mean, it's still the top half of the league is just really, really strong.
yeah, so very, very solid. I won't make mention of anything comparing men and women
Yeah.
because we've gone the opposite direction in the past, and that wasn't very constructive either. Again, would invite you to visit our website at accnation.net. Check out Megan's women's basketball bracket at Her Hoop Stats. There's a link on our page, and Jason Carmelo's big underdog bracket. That is there's also a link there on our page. And want to let everybody know that if you haven't been listening to ACC Nation Radio, maybe that you should, because not only is this program on there, but also our guys from All Sports Discussion are now sharing their program or programs on ACC Nation streaming radio, and you can hear them on there on a regular basis. And we're looking for some additional content to put in there, in addition to all of the stuff that we're providing as well. So if you're looking for sports, boy, I tell you what. And Jeff and Matthew always have some interesting discussion and some great guests, including our own Will Ogenin.
And I'm sure I'll probably be on again at some point here as we get in the college, the college hockey tournament.
That's right. I was just noticed that Boston College and Boston University are going to play their second game, and Boston College is doing really well this year. So
another strong season.
Yeah,
playing in the bean pot right now.
Yeah.
So, Jim, we have to talk about the other big news of the week before we go. Is Jeff Hafley.
Yeah. Jeff Hafley. Okay, we've talked about him.
Bye. It's kidding. But no, I think honestly though, it's kind of a sign of the times. We've seen some of these people are trying to go get out of the NFL or get onto the NFL because the stress of the job is not the same. It's gotten worse because of everything involved. And to be honest, his seat was probably a little warm going into this season, even though he's gotten them to bowls. He's, consistently done that, but I really feel like he's kind of kept it as it was in a way before he took over the program. It's kind of, they're doing okay. They're getting the bowls, but it just feels like there isn't a next step.
Yeah. This
And
this
yeah.
is a situation similar to what we've talked about before with multiple coaches where they build something, but they're not equipped to build the rest of the house. And I think that let me just be blunt here. Jeff Halfley, I think, is a great coach in a lot of ways. Maybe not a great head coach, at least from the standpoint of his experience at Boston College. Now, some of his comments, I think, alluded to the fact that he had lost the passion because of what you're mentioning, Will, NIL, transfer portal. He was dealing with nothing to do in his mind with football. It was all of the management end of things, and he realized that, hey, maybe going back into the NFL and being a coordinator and really getting my hands back on making something happen on the field is a
Mhm.
better choice. Um, I would tend to agree with him. I don't think that everybody is. I'm not, and again, I'm not denigrating him. I'm just saying I don't think everybody's cut out to be a manager, and that means in this particular case a head coach.
Mhm.
Some people have that capability. Some people we've seen basketball coaches who are legends. Just they lose their passion because of all of this, and they step away, or they retire or whatever. Um, so I think it's a good move. He's going back to something that he loves, that he's good at. He's friends with Matt LaFleur, who is the head coach at Green Bay. I'm going to have to wash my mouth out now that I've said Green Bay. Uh,
Same.
uh,
Looking
and
for
for
some soap nearby.
those of you who don't know, Will is a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I'm a Chicago Bears fan. So it's naturally we have the FTP thing going there. So, and if you're an NFC North person, you understand what that means, and you can figure it out too. The one thing I did see in relationship to Boston College, because Bill Belichick does not have a job, they're talking about bringing Bill in for a year or whatever as a transition coach. I,
You must have been on Reddit today.
well, I'm on Reddit every day, so
Yeah.
and that's where you
I'm
just
not like
get
I don't
wacky.
I very much like here and there will look at it. I don't really post on it, but yeah, I saw that. I was literally pulled up Reddit when I got home this afternoon. It was literally the first thing I saw was that post, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, hear me out for a second. My initial reaction was the same, and I just thought, you know what? Um, the argument was that, hey, think of it this way: Belichick would be like Prime, Coach Prime. He'd bring all this attention to your program. And who knows what that entails? That can be good and bad. I mean, I look at Dion as being uh, bringing a lot of the good and the bad, and I don't know if I want both. I would prefer to have the good, but sometimes you have to have the good and the bad together. Um, Belichick may be the same way. I don't know. Who knows? It would be entertaining. At the very least, it would be entertaining to have Bill Belichick as the head coach of Boston College. And I think we should start that rumor right here, right now. He is going to be hired, and he's going to donate his salary because he's such a nice guy. And he's going to be giving out free hoodies at all football games. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So
That's
that's
what I like. I wasn't even thinking about that. You said hoodies. I'm like, oh yes, everyone's just gonna roll around the sidelines in hoodies. I'm like,
that's right. That's
I
right.
mean, I approve of that. I wear hoodies all the time, but
And there will be a special edition red bandana hoodie.
oh yeah.
So we're talking money making here, guys. I mean, come on.
I
Yeah,
mean, in reality, yeah, that's. I mean, that would never happen because it's not gonna really in a on a a transition coach when you have to with everything involved. I think it's you wouldn't be able to capitalize off of it at this point
no,
because you can't get a recruiting class in.
no.
The like everyone's basically accounted for in terms of where they're going to school, and you can only make a small dent in the in that spring window. So it wouldn't really make be much of a benefit right now to do it.
But think about this for a second. You had an opportunity as a player, and let's say that you were, I don't know. There's plenty of players out there that are always kind of questionable from the standpoint of they're going to stick with this program, or they're going to bounce over here, bounce over there. If you had an opportunity to play for Bill Belichick, would you go for that?
I mean, yeah, most likely. Um, could just imagine it right now in my head. And them losing a game, like, oh, we're just moving on to Virginia Tech,
Oh man,
dealing with the Boston College media, dealing with our buddy AJ Black. Oh, we're just moving on to Virginia Tech.
yeah. Oh well, it's an interesting thought. I still say that we should start the rumor and get it get it going. I'm gonna. I think I should surreptitiously call AJ and say, "Hey, is there any truth to this? I mean, I've got some pretty solid sources here telling me that maybe Darth Hoodie's coming to BC to the Heights." So anyway, with that and that weird, strange wet dream, uh, we'll just move on and say, hey, it's been fun, and because I don't think this needs to be discussed any further. Hey,
Yeah. And then the only thing we're just trying to stall for like the last minute of the Virginia game to see how many points Miami puts up. That's all we're doing right now.
just killing time, killing time.
And if you're curious where we're at, what time it is when we're recording, there's a minute and 11 seconds left, and they have 34 points.
There we go. So that should tell you something. Hey, just as a reminder, we would really appreciate you subscribing to the podcast. It's a very simple thing to do. Go to accnation.net and click on the home page. There is a link there. There's about 17 different ways that you can follow different platforms, Apple, Google, you name it. We got it. It's all there. You can even have it sent to you via email if you'd like. So simply click on that. And while you're at your favorite platform, we would appreciate you saying, hey, we like this program, and give us a 5-star rating if you would. Also, as I mentioned, ACC Nation Radio, where you will find not only ACC Nation, but you will find all sports discussion as well. And of course, we are on YouTube, and you may be watching us right now. There's a little different look there on YouTube, right, beginning with this program. So, and if you are following us there, or if you're not following us there yet, please do make sure that you
Do
like
it.
and subscribe, and we would appreciate it. If you have comments about the program, make sure that you leave them there too. I'll try to answer them, or will try to answer them, one or the other. We will come back at you with something, one way or the other, just like we do on Reddit, by the way. So, where there's a lot of weird people, but it's a fun place.
Like you.
That's right. That's why I'm there
And me.
That's why I'm there every day. So, hey, until next
You're in the nut
time,
house.
that's right. Until next time, cheers.
Scored.